listening to
Tipsy Book Reads.
I'm Rebecca.
And I'm Jess.
And we're
tipsy.
Too many books on my TBR. Yeah. This podcast is like a book club for the antisocial. We make a drink inspired by the book we read and talk crap about life and fictional characters. We really hope you listen and drink along.
Side effects of listening to this podcast may include reading vivaciously, extreme bouts of laughter, tipsiness from craft cocktails, talking shit about life and fictional characters. Listen at your own risk.
Just a warning, this podcast is explicit. We are all over 21 and there are spoilers. We warned ya. I was going to say we're back. We are back.
We're here.
Back. We're here. How are you?
Good. How is it going?
It's a going good. It's a going well. It is a going.
Oh,
It is
Lord.
going. We're reading
ACOTAR.
I can't call it that.
I mean, it is like all about war. So.
I literally though, but it
A Court of Wings
cool
and Ruin.
ACOTAR. It's giving like, well, you're whittling right now.
Again, this whole book is just that.
But A Court of Wings and Ruin is what we're reading by Sarah J. Maas.
Yes, and we are reading, what chapters are we reading?
Well, while you're looking that up, it almost is as if Sarah was like, I'm going to do 3 books. Let's end it here. And then she didn't, and obviously we know there's 2 more books. But what are we
Maybe
at?
more to come. 23 through 49.
Quite the middle. So if you're just joining in because TikTok is wild and we'll just be like, let me start showing them on people's pages in the middle of an episode. But anyways, we have already read chapters 1 through 22. And so we are picking back up for part 2. And this is Jessica's first time reading, and this is not my first time. This is technically would be my 3rd time now. And Jessica says she has a lot of thoughts. Well, a lot of feelings.
Vibes.
A lot of feelings. So, anyways, along with those feelings, what you drinking?
Oh, yeah. We are drinking, what did we call it?
Cassian's breakfast.
So, in this section of the books, they have a couple moments where they're just drinking some brandy, and then Cassian had to have his own drink, and he's eating, what is he eating? Lemon blueberry muffins. So I did brandy and rum and simple syrup and muddled blueberries and lemon juice, and topped it off with club soda.
And it is so good. It literally tastes like a blueberry muffin. Cheers.
Oh, that was stunning.
Gorgeous.
So find the recipe on social media and make this.
This might just be my new favorite.
Yeah.
It literally tastes like a blueberry lemon muffin, but the top of it, like when it's the crumble,
yeah,
that's what it tastes like. So go make it. And if you don't, you're really lame. Unless you're allergic to it, and then you're not lame.
Fair enough.
Anyways, incredible drinks to go with these chapters, though. Greatly needed.
Yeah.
Do we have a favorite character at this point?
I feel like Reese is always going to be my favorite character.
That's fair. Probably about the same.
Okay.
At this point. And that's it, right? Before we dive in to our scattered thoughts?
I think so.
Okay. Let's dive into scattered thoughts.
Okay.
We're right to the point today.
Yeah.
Look at us professionals. Pull up those okay, here we go. My notes.
Where we left off was Solutions in the Night Court with them. Yeah, or he's in Valaris with them, at this point in the book in general, right? Yeah, that happened last time.
Yes.
So just the general vibes are there's our little family, Lucian's around, and then Elaine and Nesta are still kind of navigating this whole coming out of the cauldron thing. There's a lot going on with them, yeah?
Right. I'm not making a weird face at you. I'm making a weird face at my notes because my first note is Alice sees through everything. LOL. Well, we're out of that. So what was that in regards to? I'm so confused. So where were my part 1 notes? We did part 1, right?
Yeah.
What?
I mean, I feel like I vaguely remember her saying something about Alice. Like, oh, because Alice, like, oh, remember because when the whole time last time when Feyre was with Tamlin, like Alice knew what was going on and she went back to like the other court or whatever. Like, she did like mention something about Alice.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Why is my brain not like working?
I don't know. Okay, so what was the let's see.
I'm so annoyed I can't find my other notes and I left my book downstairs.
Oh no. I don't know, but she did talk about something about Alice because she left the whatever court, Tamlin's fucking whatever.
Yeah. I'm like confused because I was listening to this as an audiobook and I was listening to it through a library and their chapters were so off so that I had to literally write like on my notes where to stop in terms of like what topic to. But when I started these notes, I wonder if I started part 1s and then just went in.
Oh, maybe.
Because I'm talking about like the Morrigan when Alice specifically mentions Moore, but she calls her the Morrigan, and that was something I wanted to talk about, but maybe that was last week.
I don't know.
Crazy.
I mean,
Okay.
there is several mentions of the Morrigan in this section as well, as
Okay.
opposed to just like Moore.
Anyways, you lead it then, because my notes are all screwed up.
Yeah, I don't know.
So what were we saying? I'm sorry.
Okay, so last time we left off, basically, after that dinner where Lucian was like, what is the dress code? Why am I sitting at the head of the table?
Mm-hmm.
Like, where do I fit in here? What are the vibes?
Yeah.
Like, this is very informal to be like, sitting like, he's the High Lord, and I'm just like sitting at the head of his table. What is going on?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we left off last time, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So going back into this time, like I was saying, he's kind of navigating his place. Feyre's sisters are still kind of trying to figure things out. Lucian is like worried about Elaine. Elaine is like not really doing so hot. She's kind of like still not talking very much, kind of tucked away, and they're just trying to figure out like what's going on.
She's just kind of there.
Yeah. She's kind of like
poor girl,
a little vacant.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, she's been through the cauldron and back, literally, so can't blame her for that.
Can't blame her at all.
But then she's, like, talking about how she hears Lucian's heart through the stone.
Yeah. Or she can hear the worms crawling through the dirt.
Yeah.
And she's like, do you hear that too? And he's like, no. We have good hearing, but not like that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
She's spooky.
And she was like, do you hear my heart? And he's like, no. I don't.
I don't blame Feyre at all for going in his head.
No, I don't either.
If it was my sister and I had the ability to go in someone's head to double check that this dude has the right intentions, I would.
Yeah.
No regrets. I would do it. Regrets.
So, we know that Nesta took something from the cauldron.
But we don't know what.
Yeah.
Which is wild. Honestly, if it was either of those sisters, it would be Nesta.
Yeah.
She's like, you put me in, I'll take something out.
I'm not going down without a fight. Let's go.
That's right. That's right.
So, yeah, they're kind of like, they both went into the same situation and they came out very different. And, oh, yeah?
Sorry, I just needed a little sip of water, and I tried to do the little deep cleaning thing on my hydro flask, and I haven't been able to get the
lid back on, right?
and so now it just sounds like
That's so funny. Okay, so then Azrael is out in the garden with Elaine, right?
yeah,
And
he's just sunning his wings.
Yep.
He's just chilling with his bestie.
And Reese and Feyre are talking, and she's like, why didn't the freaking cauldron pick them as mates? Like,
Agreed.
honestly, who decides this?
Agreed.
Who is in charge here? Who is picking who is mated with who? And then she goes on to talk about, like, Tamlin's parents and even Reese's parents, how both of them were, like, mated bonds, but it was not a good situation. Like, not a good match, even though they were mates. And I think that whole concept is very interesting because when we look at Feyre and Reese, they are like a love match and a mated pair, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just really interesting to me that the cauldron or the mother or whoever decides these pairs as mates, that it's not necessarily a good match. And Reese is trying to, like, he doesn't really know either, but he's trying to explain, like, maybe it's, like, something to do with the strength of the bloodlines or the different powers or whatever. And it's just a very interesting concept.
Yeah, and he even speaks a little bit on how she said, well, what if one person, you know, declines the mating bond? What does that mean? And he says it can happen.
Yeah.
It absolutely can happen.
It's a choice.
It is a choice. However, the males have a stronger bond than the females.
Yeah.
And that was something you brought up last time.
Was like, why do they go feral?
Yeah.
And the women are like chilling.
Are just like there, like, hello?
Yeah.
Why are you so obsessed with me? It's
so
obsessed with me.
Yeah. It's bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
And also how the bond like clicks into place differently and at different times for different people.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I've read about bonds before, it's just like, oh, you meet your bonded pair and like you know that's them or whatever.
Yeah.
But this is like you can totally be like besties with somebody like sitting next to them on a couch and you'll never know, and then just one day, boom, snaps into place and you're like, oh shit, that's my mate. Like, so, and it doesn't always seem like there's necessarily a pattern as to when it clicks into place. Like, so far it's kind of been like times of danger or whatever, but it doesn't say that's like a rule.
No.
You know, like it just says even then,
No.
like it could just happen or not happen.
Because Reese was just chatting with her on the top of the mountain.
I was like, oh shit.
Chit-chatting, and then all of a sudden he looks at her and he's like, gets swept away by the beauty of Feyre.
Yeah. And how like she didn't pick up on it.
Yeah, not at all.
So like, and that goes with the like men feeling it, or the males feeling it more strongly or whatever. But it's interesting, and it also like makes me think, because last time I was like, are Nesta and Cassian like mates? And I still am curious, but maybe we've talked a lot about maybe Lucian really isn't her mate, which, I mean, I'm not, Lord, I hope it's not freaking Tampon, but it could be somebody else for Elaine, you know? Like, it doesn't necessarily, like.
Azrael. I ship it so much.
I do too, but also I ship Nesta and Cassian more than I ship Elaine and Azrael. So it can't be all three of them. It can't. Like, honestly, the three sisters and the three like, no, absolutely not.
So then who do you think it is?
That would just be so lazy. It's like, oh, this rare thing that happens. Just kidding. You guys are all.
Well, we already talked about how dumb the rare thing is. Like, that's not rare, obviously. Like,
yeah.
Rare means that, like, one
like
out
in a
out
million.
of, yeah, not
all three besties with three sisters.
Yeah, or even, like, the two High Lords are mated.
Yeah.
Like, that in a room full of High Lords, when we talk about the meeting,
Mm-hmm.
like, two of them are mated.
Yeah.
You're joking.
Wild.
So, anyways. I don't know. I hope, whether they're mated or not, I hope that Azrael and Elaine end up together.
Yeah. Yeah, because she can deny the bond. But he did also say that they'll both feel it forever, even if they decline it.
So annoying.
Also, in some areas, you can just, like, go murder some dude if they like marry your mate.
Yeah.
Yikes.
You could fight it out.
Yikes.
It's crazy.
Amarin is so funny.
I just love her.
She's like, boy. I love when she calls Reese like a boy or a child
Little boy.
or anything like
Yeah.
that. It's like this, however, 100-year-old High Lord. And she's like, boy, sit down.
Yeah. Or girl.
Yeah, girl.
You foolish girl.
Which, like, I don't know. I think of her as this young Bessie with the rest of them. But she is, like, ancient compared to them. And they're, like...
she is ancient. Yeah.
It's just so interesting because she's, like, ancient. And then there's Reese and his crew that are, like, however many 100 years old. And then there's Feyre, who's, like, literally, like, only been around for
I can drink
a few
now.
decades. Yeah. Yeah, so it's just very interesting.
So, a side note. Oh, never mind. I'll save that for another time.
Okay. Sounds good. Oh, the freaking Faebane dust that they're like...
Yeah. Faebane everything.
Faebane everything.
Yeah.
But especially when you can just throw some powder in there. Yikes. So we knew in the first episode that we were probably going to see more of this Faebane crap. And it's leading me to believe that is the case.
Yeah. That is no good.
Yeah. So let's talk about Elaine. Elaine, like, knows shit.
Elaine, like, knows shit. Like, she's so smart. Sorry. She's a seer.
She is. And also, like, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Like, the freaking
Azriel's
riddles
like, come on,
she
guys.
talks in.
Azriel's like, you don't see it? And she just, like, immediately looks at him and is like, you get me?
It's giving, like, Percy Jackson when, like, the prophecies and stuff. Because the way she talks, like, in riddles. And it's like, nobody makes sense.
The two Raven twins.
Yeah, and they're like,
huh?
Did she lose it?
Well,
Did she lose her marbles in the cauldron?
They're like, doctor, hello, come look at her.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be concerned too.
Yeah, fair enough. But that's pretty cool.
Yeah. They needed it.
Yeah.
That's the other thing is, like, that's what's so wild about this is, and it's so breezed over, is they needed a seer.
Yeah.
And the cauldron gave them one. What would have Nesta been if she wouldn't have taken something from it? What did they need? I don't even know.
I don't know. But whatever she did take, they probably also need.
Oh, 100%.
They need a lot.
I think she just took the power.
Yeah.
I just generalized.
That's fair.
That's how I viewed it. I don't know. But yeah, that whole scene was wild, and I do love that Azriel's the one that, like, stepped up and was like, she's a seer. Duh. You guys are so stupid.
Hello.
Are we ready to talk about the library scene?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So obviously this library is amazing, but Nesta and Feyre go there, and they're walking through, and all of a sudden they run into Hybern's little
Ravens.
Scary little ravens. Scary warriors is what they are. And they try and get them. And Feyre, honestly, thinking on the fly, like, but scary because everything is warded against, like, the outside and stuff. So she really was concerned about, and probably rightfully so, getting in contact with Rhysand and all of them. So she's like, you have to trust me, Nesta, which I think this scene shows so much on the bottom level that Nesta really does trust her with her entire being, because she just was like, run, and she ran.
Yeah.
And it was like,
especially being like Nesta is so freaking stubborn, and she actually listened.
Yeah, like,
that's wild.
It is wild. 100%. So they go down, and we have already heard about the monster that lives in the basement of the library, and how scary, and that even Cassian, like, was goner for a whole week after seeing it.
So scared.
So she's like, well, let's do this thing. Let's see. So she goes down. She's almost dead. The only thing that bothers me is, I don't even know if it really bothers me, because part of me is like, finally someone listens. The second time that Farrah tells her to run without her, and Nesta just left. And like, part of me is like, oh yeah, you, like, someone listened. And then part of me is like, you left your sister there?
Yeah. Which she has a tendency to do.
Oh my gosh. Like, your little sister. You left your little sister to go and defend you? I don't know. Didn't sit right with me. But obviously Farrah can take care of herself because she makes a freaking bargain. That's the thing. Okay, Alice in the beginning freaking says,
don't make
bargains. Period. What does she do? Bargain
Makes all
here,
the frickin'
bargain
bargains.
there, bargain over there.
Girl is running out of room on her arm.
She's tatted. She is full. But anyways, I do love that this scary, huge monster is like, I just want visitors.
I just want a friend.
I just want a friend. That's all. I want a friend, and that's it.
I want to see what this thing looks like.
Me too. It sounds scary. But okay, in the scene, Cassian shows up, and Rhysand shows up.
Yes.
And Rhysand did not take this very well. He killed him with his bare hands.
He did. He looked into their minds first, though, of course. Right?
I mean, like, the intelligence there
Yeah.
won out, which is good.
Yeah.
We love a man with intelligence.
But yeah, he was like, no, you don't. You don't touch my woman.
Mm-hmm.
And then they save her. And it was great.
Yep. Anything else about that scene? It's pretty crazy. It's a huge setup for this monster to be a monster. Because it's just like lore at the point up until then.
Yeah.
They just kind of chat about it and then...
Yeah, Cassian, like, won't talk about it. It's so scary. And other than that, like, nobody's seen it. It just, like, lurks beneath the library.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good place to kind of stop for a minute.
Yep.
Take a little break. And then we'll come back and talk about the rest of this. See you soon. Welcome back. We back, girl. And we revisited what was going on in these chapters.
Yeah, so we're going to jump around a little bit.
We're going to jump around because we missed some very important parts. For instance, how do you feel about Nesta possibly being death?
Wild. But, like, I need to see the evidence. You know?
Yeah.
Because I feel like Farrah doesn't have that much to go off of.
She's just
like,
grasping at straws.
Yeah, and she's like, oh, she's death.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
my sister.
Oh, yeah.
Because she's killing it. That's what I feel like the two of them, when that meme that's like, she's a murderer because she's killing it. That's Farrah and Nesta.
Yeah. I agree. So, yeah, they go to see the bone carver, which still, he's freaking creepy. And it's Cassian and her that go, right?
Correct.
So,
because they didn't want it to seem like it was so important that Rhysand had to go.
Yeah. And they didn't tell Amren.
Oh, yeah. That's a big thing.
Secrets. So he's like, okay, cool. Yeah, I'll, like, give you some info. I'll help you out. All I want is this mirror.
Just this simple little mirror. Not a big deal. Just wanted to do some redecorating.
So they're like, all right, we'll see what we can do.
Well, apparently it's a lot big of a deal than just a mirror.
Yep, because they go down to the Court of Nightmares is
right
where this meeting happens, and they're trying to convince Moore, his father, Kier, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kier's his name, to fight with them. And Farrah's like, oh, and by the way, I hear you have this mirror. Can I have it? He's like, oh, yeah, sure, no problem. Just look into it. She's like, huh?
And he's like, no one ever walks away from it.
They either die or go mad. So if you can stand that, it's all yours, sweetheart. Go for it.
So I want to know how he got it.
It's been like passed on through his family.
Ugh.
So
Like, how did the first person get it? Because it was the Weavers.
yeah.
I don't know. That's crazy. So then eventually they end up trying to go back and being like, literally anything else. What do you want?
Yeah. And he's like, your firstborn. And then Reese is like, oh, not just any child. You didn't see the bone carver as just any child.
It's our child.
What's he look like?
He's so cute. He's just
Is he cute?
Yeah.
So yeah, yikes. She's like, no, fuck you, never mind.
Yeah.
And so freaking Eris, Lucian's brother, is at this meeting, right?
Rhysand I didn't like that.
Yeah,
that was
made me sad.
tricky.
It was.
That was not good.
The Morrigan was not happy at all. So that was her betrothed that, like, not a good situation.
It was horrible. And I think she should have at least been cued in. I don't think it was fair.
No. I think it caught her blindsided. Like, after the fact, when it talked about why and all that stuff, like, I kind of got it because, like, Azrael, like, Eris could have killed Azrael.
Yeah.
So, like, they had to make some type of trade or whatever, but I don't think it was right to blindside more in that because I think that it would have went a lot better if she knew, and she probably would have agreed. She probably would have been like, okay, yeah, like, for the good of this cause and getting them to fight the war and not killing Azrael, okay, sure. But, like, having that, like, mental preparation as opposed to being totally blindsided in that meeting. Not only did she have to deal with, like, her horrible abusive father, now she also has to deal with this asshole. And he's like, oh, yeah, I'm planning to kill my father and take his crown, so y'all better back me up. That's my cost. Yikes. That's a big yikes.
That's a big yikes. But they make an agreement that desperately needed to be made. Just horrible way to go about it.
Yeah. And so obviously everybody was pissed.
Everyone.
At Reese.
Everyone was mad at Reese.
Yeah. And Faye was like, through the bond, like, I love you.
I love you, but also
I'm pissed.
I'm pissed.
But I love you. It doesn't take away my love, but you're an asshole.
You're being a real asshole right now, and you should have told anyone, but I do love you, and I still see you, but
you're kind of in the doghouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair.
But like I've talked about before, there's always a freaking reason, like with Reese.
Yeah.
It's never just like it's never just like he's an asshole. It's like, did he go about that the right way? No. However, I understand his reasonings. And he does go on even to talk to Feyre about, like, feeling remorse for it and, like, yes, knowing it needed to happen, but also being like, I did not make the right call.
Yeah.
And, like, realizing that and the self-reflection there, we're very proud.
Love.
I will always defend him.
Me too. But also, more, comes around to it also.
Yeah.
Like, everyone sees why. Just like we said, it was the wrong way to do it.
Yeah. For sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so Lucian is like, all right, I want to be helpful. I see what y'all got going on. Put me to work.
Yeah.
So he's going to go find one of the queens.
Yep. And he leaves. And Elaine has this moment of, like, it's kind of heartbreaking.
It is.
Like, she sees him from the top of the stairs. And he just kind of nods and turns away and goes to Reese. And right as they're winnowing, she takes a step forward to like say something, and then it doesn't happen. And it's almost like, what were you gonna say? What was gonna happen?
We don't know because he went bye-bye. Okay, and then the attack on the summer court.
Badass.
It's wild.
My gosh, Feyre said, you want to see? You want to hurt innocent people? I will show you.
What happens?
What happens?
And the King of Hybern is there, but he's not there.
Mm-hmm.
It's an illusion. Yeah.
So then, like, Reese is chit-chatting with him, lets Feyre into his mind a little bit. And it's wild. It's a wild conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, he was fake. He tricked Rhysand. That takes a lot.
Yeah, that's wild. I feel like that illusion power has got to come up again. Like, that is too powerful to just, like, be one and done.
Ooh, that's so fascinating. That's crazy.
That's a lot of, I don't know, that's wild.
That
And
is
also
wild.
very useful.
Very useful.
And also it seems familiar. What, did that happen in something else?
I'm sure. I don't know.
Regardless, it's wild.
Yeah, that whole scene was crazy. I mean, and then obviously Tarquin sees all of them and are like, "Thanks for helping," but
Also, like, fuck you.
yeah, my rubies are still red.
But I guess you can leave this time with your lives. But I'm pissed.
After all that, though, just to bring up the fact that he still never told Tamlin that where Pharaoh was. Just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying.
The real MVP.
Yeah, I mean, true. But that probably, as graphic as that scene was, might be one of my favorites.
Which scene?
The scene of Farah fighting off everyone with more, just like girl power.
Yeah. And also more being like, whatever you end up feeling after this is valid.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of feelings. War is very intense.
Yeah.
And it's okay to feel
feel all of them.
Her just like prefacing like, we're going to war. And in also her being like, if you don't feel comfortable killing anybody, just stand behind me and I got you. Mm-hmm. And Farah's like, no, I got this.
Yeah.
But her just being like, don't feel obligated.
And then she's like, also, remind me not to get on your bad side.
Yeah. Exactly. So that whole part was wild.
What's next?
I think the biggest thing, like at the end
talk
here,
about the meeting, if that's what you're gonna bring up.
I think that's like the biggest thing left that we have left to talk about.
Let's talk about it because it's a lot.
It is
From
a lot.
Their clothing to the meeting to the people who show up, their clothing. Okay, from day one to the next few days that they're there, the people that dress them so particularly to the point where their outfits are a weapon.
Yeah.
Their outfits are a weapon and a message, and I love that.
Also, that room of crowns. And Reese is like, take your pick.
Love it. Have fun. But I do love Farrah's response of being like, what if I sell them? What would you do?
Or burn them. He's like, go for it. There's a couple things I like, but do as you please.
Yeah. It's so funny. Okay, so the meeting. So they show up to the meeting, and they decide to be themselves, which... Praise the Lord. Like, seriously, just finally be yourselves. Drop the night court, big bad wolf
act. It's like...
It's so unnecessary.
Yeah,
just, like, be
especially if you're trying to get people to fight on your side. Let's not let them be thinking that you're total assholes.
Yeah, and so they have to go about explaining to them of what's happened in depth and things that they'd never wanted to talk about before and stuff like that. And in the end... I think what they did was right.
Yeah. And Nesta being like, I'm going to go with you. Like, especially after she saw that glimpse of war and is like, okay, I need to do something about this. And like telling my story might be able to help. So I'm willing to do that.
What a queen. I'm proud of her.
Yeah.
Freaking tampon shows up and nobody expects it. And how horrible must that be for Farah? Number one.
Yeah.
And he's just like making all these comments that are horrendous.
He's just so immature. For being around for like 500 years, he's a fucking child.
They're literally in the middle of war and he's making comments like, what about the little sound she makes before she climax? Like, are you
literally
joking?
And like basically calling her his leftovers.
Disgusting.
Bro.
But I love Farah's family. And Azriel just being like, don't speak of my high lady that way.
Let's go.
Murder in his eyes.
Go Az.
Yes.
Stunning. And I love how it's not always Reese that jumps to her, like, rescue, so to speak. It's like they will all, like,
defend to the death.
Cut you.
Yeah. Love it. For each other.
Yeah.
For each other. I love that. Okay. So eventually, I forgot which High Lord it was, but they were like, please take your lover's quarrel elsewhere. We are trying to win a war here. And I was like, it's finally some common sense.
Mm-hmm. Lucian's dad is also trash.
Oh, garbage. I wish Farah burned him.
Yeah, him and Tamlin should just be besties because they're both just complete trash.
Yes, and also freaking love that it was, like you said, Farah who basically lost her shit.
Yes, especially because prior to the meeting, she was like, okay, let's take off the masks. We're going to be who we really are, but we're not going to, like, let on that I have, like, these people's power. And she's the one that just, like, lets it loose.
Lets it loose. She's like, how dare you, motherfucker. Like,
yeah. And Lucian's dad's like, oh, that's where my power went.
Shut up. Like, you knew.
Literally. And also,
get out of here.
He compared it to, like, a fish losing one scale. Like, bitch, that is nothing. And also, Farah and the rest of them are like, none of y'all's asses would be alive if it weren't for Farah Cursebreaker. So I can have your one scale of power. Thank you very much.
Come on. Yeah.
Like, this is not yours. This is mine. Thank you. You're welcome.
At one point, they're like, well, there's nothing to do other than kill her, and we're not going to do that. So let's just get over it.
Yeah.
It couldn't have been a better response, honestly. It was great. So that whole meeting happens. They decide to stay because they decide all to come together after Farah becomes, like, does an incredible speech. That's essentially channels her high lord lady-ness queen behavior. And, what's his name? Helion?
Yeah, Helion.
Sun god. He also was playing a little bit of a character. He goes from, like, strict dude to walking up offering everyone his bed, like, and multiple people. And
he's the one that had an affair with Lucian's mom, right?
Let's talk about it. I love that they're all discussing this, and Farah's asking so many questions, number one. Too many questions, girl.
She's like, hold up, let me get all up in your personal life.
Yeah. And then she makes this discovery, and Reese down the bond goes, whatever you just figured out, fix your face. And she just sends down, that's Lucian's dad.
Look at his nose.
Look at his nose. Look at his eyes. Look at him. And Reese is just like, oh, shit. It's him.
How does nobody know this? Bro.
Seriously.
Everyone's dumb.
Yeah.
But it does make a lot of sense as to, like, why Lucian's dad hates him. And also, like, Lucian doesn't have any claim to be his dad's heir, technically. So that's why it was, like, yeah, so blasé for him to be sent off to another court.
Mm-hmm.
But yikes.
Yeah, that was pretty wild. That's a discovery that's obviously going to come back to us somehow.
Yeah.
However,
that's
that
big.
That happens.
Because Helion or whatever doesn't have any kids, right? So that makes Lucian his only heir.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. I love it.
Okay, so, but why does Lucian have his dad's powers? Like, his not his birth dad's, but, like, doesn't he have the powers of, like, his court?
His mom has them. So his mom also has the fire powers to the point where they're stronger than his dad's.
Okay.
So he inherited it from his mom.
Okay, gotcha.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they talk about it in the
and I wonder if that's why, because Helion, he's day court, right?
Mm-hmm.
So back in the first section when Feyre was glowing and he, like, recognized the power, I wonder if, like, he has that power and, like, stumps it down, and, like, that's part of the reason he, like, recognized it in her.
Interesting point. Yeah. The other thing that I was thinking of, like, let's say Lucian is really Elaine's mated person. Okay. Mate. It would make sense in the terms of, like, okay, so, oh shoot, I don't know if I can say this because it's a spoiler. So far, we know, because this has been said, that Farah's little drawing was night and night sky.
Right.
And we know that she ended up with Rhysand.
Right.
Nessa's, I'm not going to mention in case you've forgotten and therefore won't pick that up. Third, Elaine's was what? Flowers and stuff like that. And our first thought with freaking tampon is like, oh no, spring court. What if it's day court?
Yeah, it very well could be.
She could be the high lady of the day court.
Ooh.
Just saying.
Anything but Tamlin.
Oh, trash. Like, so much trash. But anyways, so they're all chit-chatting, and Nesta comes in, is like, something is wrong. Something is very wrong. I need you to trust me. Something is awful. We need to leave right now.
And Farrah's like,
girl, you're fine.
Relax a little.
Farrah!
Especially, you already suspect that she's like a death god.
Yeah.
And she's saying something is wrong. Maybe we should listen to her.
Oh, that bothered me so much. I don't like that.
No.
I didn't like that at all.
Mm-mm.
It took Cassian being like, okay, I'll tell Rhys, and then them making the decision to go fly around and check it out. It doesn't take that much to go check it out.
No, it really doesn't.
And something was wrong.
Yeah.
The wall fell.
Bye.
The freaking wall that they had been putting half of this book into trying to fix it. Oh, just kidding. It's fallen. Death.
Dang. Rip.
The whole
wild.
freaking book. Okay, so tell me about what's your frustrations about this part. What like made you annoyed?
I don't know. I feel like sometimes they just talk in circles.
Yeah.
A little bit. And I feel like, I don't know. It's obviously a very big book, but I feel like it doesn't need to be as big as it is.
So
it's
fair.
like the pacing of it. It's like sometimes I feel like I could just like skip like 5 pages at a time and not miss anything important.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm. All the visits to the bone carver, I didn't feel like that was necessary.
Especially when it's like, when they visited the bone carver the second time, all she did was say no to his request. So literally nothing happened. There was no point in that.
Yeah.
And there's been several things where it's like, there was literally no point in that. Like, where did that get us?
Mm-hmm.
That got us no further than we already were.
That's fair. I'd agree. There's definitely some pacing issues.
What about you?
I'd agree.
Yeah. Any other things that
Not
are
for
like,
this.
This is annoying.
Not what we were talking about so far.
Yeah. There was something else with the meeting that I was gonna say. Crap, what was it?
Oh, it is important to talk about more in her reaction to Azriel defending her. She was very upset that he lost his mind. But also, I would have hit all of them in the face too with what they were saying about her. So it's tough. But her reaction was just to go sleep with the High Lord of the Day Court.
Yeah. Yikes.
Yep. So anyways, that's important to mention for later.
It is.
Anything else?
I don't know. I wish I could remember my thought about the meeting.
Well, if you think of it for next week, we can talk about it for next week.
Sounds good.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
Okay.
Then I think that's all.
Yay. What kept you up? What kept you home? What kept me up was jury duty.
Oh, yeah. Yikes.
Yep, so I was summoned for my civil duty. There for 2 days. And was never selected for a juror to be on the jury. On a panel. And yet I was still there for 2 days.
Dang, that sucks.
Yep. And then what kept me home? I've been like wanting to actually this was a today thought, but I'm gonna go ahead and run with it. I want to freaking just sell or give away all of my clothes and start fresh, start anew. And I don't know if I usually am the person who goes and dyes my hair. And I don't know if that's why I'm like trying to find another outlet because I'm not dyeing my hair right now for a while. And my brain is just like, we need something to change. Something needs to be done. And so that's where my brain is going. But anywho.
what kept me up this book and I'm like sorting through a bunch of my books and trying to figure out like I need a better system for my books of like what I've read. Like, should I get rid of books that I've like read, especially if I don't really like them, but also they're like my trophies.
Yeah.
So like, but I am having a dilemma where I have too many books and not enough bookshelves,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't really have a space for more bookshelves.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like stuck. Like, what do I do?
That's tough.
Like what system? I need a better system so that I actually get through my TBR instead of just like getting more books that are recommended to me. Like obviously I got this book at some point for a reason.
Yeah, what was
so,
it?
Like, just reading it instead of just picking another book. So if you guys have a good like system that like helps you stick to your TBR, please let me know because your girl is struggling.
It's almost as if we have a whole song that's about having too many books on our TBR.
Yeah. Yep. And we've gotten nowhere on this struggle.
You should get the library scanner thing.
Yeah, that
You
would
should
be
do
cool.
it.
I should do it. I should.
We should both do it and then have a night where we're like together but separate because it would be too much to bring each other's books to each place. It would actually be impossible.
We can just be on FaceTime.
We can just be on FaceTime and
that sounds great.
Put a movie on.
Yeah.
The same movie.
I love it. And just
Oh my
scan
God.
our books. Let's do it. Love it. So, yeah, that's something I've been thinking about is like I have no system and I need a system. And then
That's fair.
What kept me home? I don't know.
Okay. Also, I got bit by a spider twice.
Yeah.
And what's really upsetting about that is the fact that I don't have any powers.
Yeah. Rude.
Like I went through all of that. I've been bit by spiders before.
But like this was pretty bad.
This was pretty bad.
And you got nothing from it.
Nothing. Yeah, I called
Mm.
my doctors and I was like, hey, can I put Benadryl cream on this or triple antibiotic? And they asked me all these questions and they were like, let me get right back to you. And next thing I know, there's an appointment made for me to go into the office. And let me explain, it is like a 3-month waiting period to get into that doctor's.
And they saw you that night.
And they saw me that night. And they were like, oh, when did you get this bite? And I said yesterday. And they said, oh, it's infected already. This is not great. It's going into your blood. Let's take this really seriously.
Yeah.
But I'm alive. I still have my leg, which is nice. It's really ugly right now, but it's as hours go by, it's getting less and less ugly. So,
Yay.
I'm just really weird. I can't like climb walls and have super spidey senses.
So rude.
Yeah. Well, our next chapters are through the end.
Yeah, 50 through the end.
So join us and we'll chit chat about that. And we can't wait. We'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye.